Welcome to A Rabbi and a Skeptic Walk into a Podcast. I'm Gary Rosenberg, joined by Rabbi Yoni Dahlen of Shared Tzedek. How are you today?
I'm great. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Schedule's getting nutty during the summer. So Saturday, I had the extreme pleasure of going to Shared Tzedek to watch this gentleman work. And it was really fun. It was a heck of a sermon. The people around me were like visibly moved by it and whispering to each other how much it meant to them.
Well, thank you. It meant a lot to have you there. It's not often where 4th of July lines up on Shabbat, so it worked out in a way that was very nice to be able to talk about Jewish life in America.
Of course, now I think some of your congregation might be upset to find out that your entire sermon was written by AI.
It's true. It's true. They would be they'd be mad. They'd be mad to find out.
So that's our topic for today is AI. It's involved in everything, everywhere, all at once. It's changing everybody's lives on a daily basis. Would you say that it has as much impact on you as it does on your congregation, or is it utterly different?
Yeah, it's a huge question in the rabbinate now. So for anyone who didn't understand our sarcasm earlier, let me just say that AI did not write my sermon, and AI does not write any of my sermons. But I think that there are...
Of course, AI just wrote that.
Right, so. Right. It made the apology for it. I think that it has become, in the rabbinate especially, when you are inundated with a whole bunch of different things that need to get done, that I know for some folks it can become an easy way to get some work off your plate.
So it's being used.
It's being used, and I think in some ways it's being used in a very helpful way. In some ways it's being used in a way that I think is harmful. The one thing for me that's really important, and someone asked me, a friend of mine who's not in the clergy and not Jewish, asked me if I use AI for any of my writing. And I said, there are so many parts of my job, and this might get me in trouble, but I'm going to say it. There's so many parts of my job that I think are hard parts that I don't really enjoy doing, right? Fundraising, some of the nitty gritty, sitting at my desk and having to pound out different things for programs or paperwork or different things like that. Those are not parts that I particularly enjoy about the rabbinate. Writing sermons and writing eulogies and like having my creative outlet is something that I love. It's one of the reasons that I love being a rabbi. So the idea of like having that taken away from me feels like something I would really miss out on.
So you wouldn't do that, but some of the stuff that's kind of rote or technical and not particularly fascinating, I mean, will you use AI and then dress it up yourself, or you just try to not?
What I think is really helpful, I mean, for me, is rabbis, we are a bit long-winded. We can talk too much and we can write and we can be a little verbose. Sometimes I'll have ChatGPT or another AI software just clean things up for me and say, you've repeated this, you've already said this, and then that helps me shorten things down.
That seems really legitimate.
Yeah.
It's just like having an editor who has no real opinion. They're just looking at what you wrote and saying, well, like you said, you already said this 3 paragraphs ago.
Right.
There's no need to say it again.
Right.
Even if you are a rabbi.
Right. But where it becomes interesting, and I think there's 2 different places for this. There's the rabbi or the clergy and their role in using AI, and then there's the congregation and their role in using AI. So I think I've gotten to a comfortable place where I can take AI to shorten things or spell check things or different things like that for me. Where it's also very helpful is making spreadsheets for me, because I have no background in like Excel or anything like that, and there's all kinds of different formulas and whatnot. So if I need to make an Excel spreadsheet of keeping track of bar bat mitzvah kids or different things like that, AI is super helpful for something like that. But what I think it's becoming a little bit complicated is that people are starting to talk to AI as a living, breathing thing as a therapist,
Sure.
as a spiritual guide, as a counselor,
Absolutely.
because it responds in such a human way as opposed
And
to
so quickly.
And so quickly.
Like before you're done typing, you've got an answer or 10 or 50 answers if that's what you want.
100%.
It's amazing. I'm sure it can be helpful. There are people who are lonely or people who are alone. There are people who their friends are busy.
Yeah.
And their friends can only listen so much to their litany of problems, and the AI never gets bored and never goes again. You
Right.
know, yeah, it's interesting, Gare, but I really have to go. You know,
Right.
Oh, there's somebody at the door. Got to go. You know,
Right.
I don't believe that when they say that.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what I say.
Yeah. That's my line. Yeah. Well, but I do think that is also something that we have forgotten, is that we demand accessibility all the time, 24/7 as people, and that replaces human interaction to a point where we expect everyone to be available 24/7. And that was the text messaging revolution.
Do people expect you to be constantly available?
Yeah.
And,
For sure.
And if somebody, if it's not an emergency, well, I mean, what can you do? I guess you can always try to make somebody feel better or give them some perspective that they may need in that minute. How do you handle that?
It's hard. That's kind of the tricky balancing act of boundary setting while also being available and knowing that people are, I think way more people, if not everyone, in some way or another, is much lonelier than they actively would ever say. And I think that's kind of our condition, especially post-COVID. We're lonely. We're lonely people. And our accessibility to everything instantaneously at the tip of our fingers just makes us lonelier, because we want humans to be the exact same way as we want our computers or everything else. Where the balancing act comes from is I have to be able to say to people, I'm here for you in cases of emergencies. And also sometimes to be able to say, this wasn't an emergency. But
Do they take it personally? Do they get their nose bent out of shape when they hear you say that?
People can, for sure. Because to them, it could have been the most important thing in the world. But that does not necessarily mean that it's an emergency, right? And there are things that can wait. Not everyone understands that. And again, because we're so used to, I can go on Amazon this morning and I can get something by the end of the day today, right? Yeah. Waiting is not something that we do.
I have to take this toy out of her mouth because she's squeaking it.
Yeah.
And it's obnoxious.
Dot.
Sorry, Dot. You can't have that
You
right
can't
now.
have a squeak.
Nope. I think she'll give up and leave us alone if there are no toys in here that squeak.
I'm sorry, Dottie. Sorry, Dottie.
So, my son lives in Thailand.
Yeah.
And he's 11 hours opposite from everybody. And when you need somebody to talk to, it's the middle of the night here sometimes.
Yeah.
Can't do it. So he invented what he calls his collective. And he took some of his favorite philosophers and deep thinkers from the past, including, Kant and Freud and Jung and, and some modern people as well. And he would ask his AI, to give me some thoughts on this situation from the point of view of all 5 of these people.
Interesting.
And for quite a long time, he spent a lot of time with some people who they weren't all the happiest people in the world.
Yeah.
He's now paying more attention to a writer named Arthur Brooks,
Okay.
a writer, podcaster, and he is pretty relentlessly positive and sweet and religious, which is interesting because it's not my son's typical area of interest. But he's brighter and more chipper now because he's doing more reading and listening to Arthur Brooks, and it's noticeable.
Yeah, 100%.
He's looking for places to be brighter, but that has nothing to do with AI. Well, I wonder if he's put him in the collective.
That would be a good addition, because all of those figures that you added are not the most notoriously positive, optimistic thinkers in philosophical history.
So AI what kind of situations do you run into that you are impressed with what AI can do, or that you were appalled?
Well, I think that is a pretty amazing example right there, that you can get your AI tailored to talk to you in a way of what you want it to say, right? I want a Freudian perspective. I want a Kantian perspective on something. That's amazing. I mean, we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater, because there's really incredible things that come with AI. What I think is a difficult part of it is the idea of trying to replace human interaction. Even if it's a very cool way of doing it, it's hard. It's not the same as human interaction. And of course, that looks different if you're 11 hours away and can't call someone on the phone right away. But I'm seeing in the perspective where people will use it for pastoral care and therapy. They'll say, I'm feeling this. Is this diagnosed as something? And people will, and AI will respond and become their doctor or their rabbi. And that, I would say, is incredibly dangerous.
That's dangerous. The internet's always been dangerous for that. If you've got symptoms of anything, I've got a dot on my forehead,
WebMD will tell you, you're going to die.
You look online and you've got about an hour to live.
Exactly right. But it feels different when a computer is telling it to you in a way that feels human. Then it feels even more compelling to say, like, oh, wow, you're a mess. You're hyper depressed. You're something. But that's not in a way to, even if the diagnosis might be correct, that's not the way to actually do therapy, right? Or not the way to get spiritual counseling, because there is something very powerful about having that human interaction that I don't even know how to describe it. Even if it's faked, it's faked.
Well, your congregation, when they contact you with a personal issue or a philosophical issue or an emotional issue, eventually they know where you're coming from.
Right.
They know, maybe you are incredibly empathetic and understanding, and you're a see both sides kind of person, or maybe you're the kind of person who instantly sees what's right and wrong, and you don't want to waste time, and you want to chop right to the bone. I don't know what your style is. I've never asked you for personal opinions, but an AI can be that, or it can be anything else.
Right.
And you have to instruct your AI. Listen, I don't want you to just give me the good news.
Right.
Don't suck up to me, because
Right.
that's how they're built.
Right.
The more time you spend on them, the more effective it is for the purveyor of the AI,
For sure.
the business. So they tell you what they think you want to hear.
Right.
I'll give you a funny example. A friend and I disagree on something, and he said, well, why don't let's ask AI. So we both asked ChatGPT and got different answers.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, this is
Right.
stupidly powerful, and that's very cynical.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean,
I hate cynicism.
I hate cynicism, and I hate where we've become in modern society, so siloed and so bubbled that we can only live in our self-affirmation of whatever we wanted the world to look like. I feel like it's super unhealthy. We carve out our own political silos, our own whatever silos, and then we just kind of stay there. And if even your access to information is shaped by your own personal biases
100%.
and silos, then you're doomed.
And even worse, the different TV stations are talking about different topics.
Yeah.
They're not even talking about the same piece of news.
No.
This isn't news over here, but it's a huge story here.
Right.
They're not even talking about it on the other channel. That's not healthy for our society.
Right. And we used to do things a little bit differently, but we still had the same thing where I have a friend of mine where her joke was that, she was not Orthodox, but an observant Jew, and because she had been in yeshiva and because she had been in all these different worlds of New York Judaism, had a pretty good Rolodex of different rabbis. And if she didn't like the answer one of her rabbis gave her, then she had another rabbi that she could talk to, right?
That makes sense.
Which makes sense, but that's still at least having the interaction with the rabbis of being able to do the legwork and to be able to talk through it, as opposed to just shaping your response on. So here's another example where I had a friend of mine who makes content where she grew up Orthodox, is not Orthodox anymore, but does secular, creates a Daf Yomi page, Daf Yomi, studying a page of Talmud every day, and then doing video content on what the page was about and doing it in a really funny, culturally relevant way so that it's really engaging, especially for millennials and Gen Z, but it's digestible Talmud in a way where, I mean, Talmud is really hard to digest sometimes, and she does it in such a beautiful way. But she was doing a fundraising campaign to continue the work that she's doing, and she had someone who asked their rabbi if it was okay to donate to her contribution. But his rabbi was ChatGPT. So he asked if it was halakhically permissible to ChatGPT to donate, and it said no, which is hilarious.
And it knows what he wants to hear.
Of course. But it also knows that from his lens of what he thinks is going to, I mean, that's not a rabbi. That's a AI Google search of everything that he has searched
right
in his own algorithm to try to find a way to not contribute it and also to make a halakhic statement that is not actually a halakhic statement at all.
Are you willing to face AI head on as we look into the near and the medium term future for the purpose of helping your congregation, giving them some thought through guidelines, as opposed to each person is on their own, hundreds and hundreds of people just going, oh, I'll just ask.
Right. Yeah.
Have you thought about doing that? Is that important to you?
Yeah, it is important to me. I'm wrestling with it, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like, because I think that it's also important. I mean, more and more, I am focusing in my rabbinate about how we get back to human interactions, and because I think that a lot of the sadness, a lot of the loneliness, a lot of the anger is coming from our inability to sit with one another. Even, I mean, if it's because of physical, I mean, COVID did a number on us in that regard of just completely isolating us, but it also has made us just feel it's just easier to stream services. It's easier to just be alone and to scroll and to, think that we have all the information because we've got this incredible supercomputer in our hand. But we're trying to get to a place of saying it is better to be confronted one-on-one with people who might have wrong information or might be wrong about different things, including your rabbi, who might be wrong, who might tell you the wrong thing or get something wrong, but they got it wrong because they're human. Right? And that we navigate those things together and say, like, I think you gave me not quite correct information, or you were actually not, or that didn't actually help me the way that I wanted it to help me. Those are conversations that we don't have anymore. And those are the things that we need to get back to.
Do you think in some cases it might be, I don't want to ask this question in a way that's a yes to both.
Yeah.
Is it better for a person to be alone and confront being alone, which can be tremendously difficult and depressing, as opposed to using AI as a friend?
Yeah. I think that there is great value in AI. And I think there's great value in even having an interaction with AI if you're in a place of loneliness, right? I don't want to discount it. But I think a lot of these tools become not just tools, they become addictions, and they actually become stand-ins for something that I think is irreplaceable. And especially when it comes to Judaism is all about community. And I think that people can put themselves in kind of, this is going to be a harsh term to use, but I'm going to say it, kind of lie to themselves of sitting in their living room, drinking a cup of coffee and watching services on TV or on their computer and feel like, well, they're there. It's very different than sitting next to someone and having them to kibitz with while the rabbi's giving the sermon and saying, like, I don't know what he's talking about this week or whatever it is. That is an invaluable piece of connection, right? And it's different to be able to see something and to even have those words resonate or music resonate with you, as opposed to be there and to feel it as you're sharing it with someone else or with a community. And I think that for the sake of ease and convenience, we've gotten away from some of the things that are more meaningful.
When you don't get the 7-layer cakes at home either.
You don't get 7-layer cake. Even if you ordered it ahead of time and had it, it's still not the same as getting it after 3 other people have already touched it, and now you're
that's when it's best.
Exactly right.
That's when it gets good.
Exactly right. But I mean, we have, I think, our most important thing that we do every single week, and again, this is probably going to get me in trouble too.
Oh, good.
But that's okay. I think the most important thing that we do each and every single week at Shul is have lunch together. I think it's more important than the davening that we're doing. I think it's more important than the sermons I'm giving, because I think that when we have lunch together, we sit and we look at each other in the eyes and we have conversations over food. That's the most Jewish thing in the world.
And I've got I think a really good story for that point. I belonged to 2 country clubs in my past, and one of them was a better golf course, and I love that golf course, still love that golf course. But in the Tuesday league, after you played golf, you and your partner would play against a different twosome each week.
Gotcha.
And you'd play 9 holes, and then you'd go eat. And you sit with whoever you want to sit with, and frankly, the cool guys always sat with themselves.
Yeah.
The really good golfers and the really funny guys, and everybody, they've been there for years and they know everybody, and they sat at their own place. And I didn't think a thing of it until I went to a different country club, and my partner and I played against the 2 coolest guys in the club. And we had a lovely 9 holes, and then at that club, you sit down with those people.
Yeah.
And that's who you sit with for the next, not only the dinner, but whatever little speeches are going to be made by the general manager. And you get to know people you never would have. In the first club, it was very cliquey, and you did not get to sit with the cool guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in your synagogue, it's random. You sit wherever you want to sit, I'm not saying that you should break into 2-man teams.
Right. But I think we do have opportunities where we do encourage folks to mix it up a bit. We know that people are people of habit, right? So not only are people going to choose wherever they want to sit, I can tell you where most of our people are going to sit each and every single week, right?
I got to sit with my back to the wall, man.
Exactly right.
In case I get aces over 8s.
Exactly right. You don't want anyone cheating, right? But that happens. But then I think there are times where every once in a while, well, not just for Shabbat lunch, but for other programs too, we'll just kind of throw a little chaos into it, intentional chaos, to be like, we're sitting like cafeteria style this week. We're all going to be tables in a row, and you're going to be staring at people that you don't know, and you're going to be in a situation where, and I think it's good for us to be able to meet new people and to be able to say, and especially intergenerational.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think it's super important. So we try to put people in those uncomfortable positions to make sure that they're getting to know not just new people, but the people in their congregation and the people in their synagogue family.
So back to AI for a minute. Have you done sermons about AI?
I don't know if I have. It's been on my list for a while to do. And I get stuck in my head doing it because I know so many rabbis who have done the sermon, and they all do the sermon in the same way, which is that they give the first half of their sermon and it's AI, and then they ask if anyone noticed or can tell.
I'm sure that I bet the people don't.
I bet they don't. And I bet you can make an AI sermon that's meaningful and powerful.
Sure. Well, if it's not, you can just say, try this again and make it more meaningful.
Exactly.
Make it simpler and give some specific individual examples. Tell some stories. Next thing, 5 seconds later, great stories.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I bet the majority of folks wouldn't be able to tell. And it makes me super scared of doing it.
And if you did a regular sermon and then said, by the way, that was written by AI, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's fake them all out.
Yeah.
No, that's a bad idea. That's like
could go either
that's way. Like it could go the wrong way. I hate to be. I don't like the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a position I know is wrong, just to light a fire under somebody else.
Yeah. No, I think that also breaks down, especially from a like a clerical perspective. That can break down some trust too, and some.
It's weak.
Yeah.
It's a weak way to argue. If you're
Right.
going to argue, and I mean that in the best way, if you're
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
have a flavorful discussion, then playing devil's advocate is, and that's what it would be doing if you claimed it was written by AI and it wasn't. Now you're trolling.
Yeah. We got enough trolling.
There's an internet word for everybody. That's what trolling is, purposely trying to upset somebody.
Right. And that's
Yeah,
not
so
what
don't do that.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're not going to do a half and half and say, what do you think,
No,
folks?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that what we need to focus on is, and this is hard, so I admit that it's very hard, but I think what the AI can't do is have vulnerability. I mean, it just can't have its own personal vulnerability because it doesn't exist and have its own consciousness.
Can't you program it to be vulnerable? And I need you to be vulnerable. Don't always be right about everything, and don't just tell me, as I said earlier, what you know I want to hear.
100%. But what it can't do is give you its lived experience of
Well, that's
vulnerability. And I think that that's how people let other people in, right? If I can show you to take away some of my shields, some of my body armor,
Sure.
as an invitation to say, I trust you enough that I want to share this with you, knowing that you can use whatever information I'm about to give you to hurt me. And that's powerful to be able to invite someone else into that. That's how relationships become deep and meaningful relationships, because there's trust and there's safety that's conveyed.
The idea of a con man, a confidence man, is not what a lot of people think. It's the person who gives you his confidence.
Right.
He's not gaining yours.
Right. Right.
They
100%.
get that wrong.
Right.
So and that works.
Yeah.
Once people have invested, that guy, look at all the things that happened to him. Huh? I mean, what's happening to him now? I wonder if I can help.
Right.
All of a sudden they're
They
invested.
become invested in you. Right.
They want to
Exactly.
help.
Right.
Well, that'll be an interesting thing. I want you to report back and
I will.
see how it goes. Now, what kind of feedback do you get? It's just walking around the lunch and seeing what people say, or do people write to you or email you, or what? How does it work?
I get both. You'll be shocked to hear this about our people, but usually I get way more information when people don't like something than when they do like something.
Oh, well, that's human nature.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I mean, both ways I get, most of it is probably post-service when we're at lunch and we're talking and that's our opportunity. I do get some emails or phone calls and that's great. I'm glad that people hold on to things after Shabbat and we can still talk about them. It's good.
How often do you find that you want to say something in a sermon that is going to prick them and wake them up and you'll get some feedback, but it doesn't seem like your style. Is that something you ever do?
I'm doing it admittedly less than I used to.
Why? Because you're getting older and smarter, or what?
I'm getting older and smarter. I think my mission as a rabbi was just something that was different 8 years ago than it is today. 8 years ago, we were divided as a country, but we weren't nearly as divided as we are now. And before October 7th, and before COVID, and before all these other things, a lot of what I wanted to do was to have really tough conversations for the sake of pushing people out of their comfort zone. Now I'm more focused on acknowledging how lonely everyone is and trying to find as many ways as I possibly can for us to come to common ground together and unified ground together. Which doesn't mean that every once in a while I don't have to give a sermon that needs to light a fire under all of our tuchuses, including my own sometimes. Because sometimes things are important enough where it's like, I'm sorry, you're not going to like this, but we got to talk about it. But we also need to talk about those things for the sake of L'Shem Shamayim, of getting closer together and to build something and to recognize our shared values.
Did you see value in those, or when you look back, what did you learn from that period of time when you were lighting fires under people on purpose?
I think there is some value in trying to push people out of their comfort zone. It's taken me a long time to realize how to do it in a way that doesn't, if you upset people too much, they're not going to hear anything. They're just going to feel the feeling, right? And then your message is gone. It has to be done in a way where you're pushing something and then giving them the opportunity to continue. if you just leave something there and if people feel shamed or embarrassed or something and then you just drop them, then it's a bad feeling. And
That's a bad feeling.
Right.
They might never come back.
Right.
But sometimes you push people and they need to be pushed even if they never come back.
Right.
There,
That's
I said
true.
that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, but it's true. It's true. I think that's right.
You can imagine a situation where you make somebody uncomfortable enough that they go, I don't have to listen to this, and I'm not going to listen to this, and you know that they needed to hear it, at least you think you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can imagine such a thing?
Well, one of my rabbis, Rabbi Sharon Brous at ICAR in Los Angeles, she gave a sermon, I don't know how long ago it was now, but it really resonated with me, where it was talking about, in this post-October 7th world, of being able to have the conversations where I especially think in Judaism that has gone past its golden age of conservative Judaism and the big filled sanctuaries and everything else, that we call ourselves Big Tent Judaism, where we want to invite everyone in and blah, blah, blah. She gave a really powerful sermon that we're not Big Tent Judaism, and we shouldn't be Big Tent Judaism. We should have things that we stand by as our values and that are red lines for us. And I think different congregations have to figure out what those red lines are. But I think to articulate them and to say, like, if that's not something that you feel comfortable with as part of the identity of this congregation, then maybe this isn't your congregation.
So she gave that sermon, and she's still working there?
Yeah. Well, she works in LA, so she's allowed to give a sermon like that, right? I mean, there's also different places where you can and can't say certain things. But I think the message is one that you can also transfer over to Detroit, which is to say that you have to stand for something too. We can't be tofu, right, and just blend into the flavor of what everyone wants. You have to be able to stand for something. And if people say
you have to be arugula.
You have to be arugula, for sure. You have to be bold and powerful. And if someone says to you, well, that's not the shul that I'm interested in being a part of, then you say, I'm really sorry, we're going to miss you.
I'm glad you found that out when you have the energy to, you didn't waste a bunch of energy trying to make this your place when it's really not.
Right.
Oh, that's beautiful. Time's pretty much up, unless you've got something you want to end with. I'm good.
No, and we'll continue the conversation. I think it'll be good.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in a week or 2 or 3. It's summertime, and it's tough to get people together, especially when they got little kids and it's vacation time. And
For sure.
we shall see. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Thank you as always.
Good day.